LSU Baseball over the weekend, a rough one, man. Friday was blistered by Mississippi State. It was close for a minute, and then Mississippi State busted it wide open late in the game. Saturday was back and forth. LSU jumped out to a big lead early on, was not able to manufacture any runs after the third, and was able to hang on for dear life in game two and get a one-run victory versus Mississippi State. And then yesterday was blown out again, 15-5, as the Tigers were beat up at the dude. It was a rowdy atmosphere, just like you anticipated it would be. Mississippi State was ready for the weekend. They came in playing really good baseball, and they improved to 15-6 overall, 2-1 in the SEC. And from Mississippi State's standpoint, their starting pitcher worked 5 innings, allowed 3 runs, 5 hits, struck out 6. And, you know, it's kind of where you start is with the offense. And Thatcher Hurd, a loss yesterday, allowed 7 runs, 7 hits, 5 innings of work, 3 strikeouts, 3 free passes yesterday for Thatcher. Very inconsistent here early on for Hurd as he's off to a 1-2 start. And, you know, defensively we'll talk about it because they've struggled in the field as well, even behind the pitching staff here to start conference play. It's not all been on the pitching, as some of the defense has been a little lackluster as well. But offensively, I think that's where the opening concern has to lie, right? I mean, it was outside of Tommy White, and White is mashing the ball right now. 3 home runs in 3 days for White, and he hit some missiles out of Mississippi State. I mean, that one he hit yesterday at the dude was, I mean, it was a scorcher. But outside of White offensively, right? I mean, it's just very inconsistent, and that's what it's been consistently inconsistent. It feels like yesterday, just some struggling at bats for LSU.
Bad at bats, like
bad,
horrible at bats.
I mean, like, not what you expect to see from this type of talent, this type of lineup, you know, with the coaching that they have. And I understand that this is probably and was a long trip home for Jay Johnson.
Oh, he was.
That's
he was on.
In the post game, I mean, I was like, the whoever's got the balls to step up and ask questions here, good on you, because you're earning your reporter check today. I mean, that was, you could sense. I mean, he was just not in a good place of, you know, being able to talk about his team right there in the heat of the moment. It's just, man, it's tough to explain.
It is.
I mean, like, you came out of the non-conference looking back on it, and I think we were probably all guilty of probably, you know, raising the stock a little too high coming out of non-conference. But in the same sense, I mean, look, they, especially from a defensive pitching standpoint, they were on another level, it felt like, to where they had been in the past couple of years. And not saying that they can't get there, because they definitely have the arms, but, you know, some of the guys that we thought were maybe invincible going into SEC play turned out to be very human in the sense of, I mean, Cade Anderson was knocked around. We mentioned Thatcher Hurd, Luke Holman on Friday night. You know, I mean, Holman was a guy that, you know, almost was feeling like Skeens coming out of that Houston Minute Maid, that Astros Foundation Classic. And, you know, obviously that is not the case coming out of the first weekend of SEC play. So, yeah, look, I don't want to jump to conclusions, right? I mean, you don't want to sail the year away. there's definitely some things that you have to work on and grow on. And again, I am not going to push the panic button on the offense because I believe in Jay Johnson that much. I mean, I just believe that he is going to have his team figure it out. He's an offensive coach. His teams have consistently, historically, been offensively good. It's something that he puts a premium on. And I just imagine he'll get it figured out. There are a lot of options, too.
Coach, I'm just looking at like SEC stats over here, and the batting stats are awful.
Yeah,
like,
they're bad.
Like versus left-handed pitching, LSU is 2 for 26, batting 77. And then against right-handed pitching, they're batting 311. With runners on, batting 170. With bases empty, 340. With bases loaded, 250. So, I mean, the two main stats there are bases loaded and versus left-handed pitchers. They're basically a bad team. You got to be able to hit the ball with runners on.
Yeah, and look, I think they get it right. You know, I mean, I think that they find in time they'll get it right. And the only thing that leaves you a little weary is just the schedule. I mean, if you looked around this weekend, the SEC is loaded. I was peeking a little bit at that Florida A&M series. Florida took Game 3 yesterday. It was a back-and-forth series all weekend, but two top 10 teams battling one another. Alabama, Tennessee this weekend was a great series. I mean, the SEC is fantastic. And then you look up and you got Florida coming to town this weekend. I mean, you know, like just a rematch of the national championship, coming off a little adversity to start the season in conference play. So, I mean, you know, you try to get this thing right. You got Louisiana Tech coming in here on Tuesday night, and, you know, obviously Johnson will have the pedal down on trying to figure out, you know, what's best here. And, I mean, with Florida coming in town this weekend off of a big series win versus A&M this weekend, it sets up to be another, you know, fist fight.
No SEC road team won their series this weekend.
Wow.
So all the home teams got the win.
Look at that. It's good. I mean, that was Mississippi State was solid, man. I mean, their lineup, they kept coming at you.
And I think there was smoke before the season or after last season that Jordan, 42, was going to leave Mississippi State. Coach, if he would have left, I know Jay Johnson would have had that call in quick.
Which one?
Jordan, 42.
Oh, golly. He hit bombs.
Like, couldn't get him out. Like Christian said, they couldn't get him out. I mean, this was tough to watch. Like, this was very, very tough to watch, especially after, like, last season. And even, like, the season before, they didn't struggle. Like, it just never seemed like they struggled like this.
Yeah.
Like, especially with the bats. It was just.
That's why, I mean, look, man, they're going to figure it out.
Yeah, they will. But
I believe in Jay Johnson.
Whew.
I'm riding with Jay Johnson. I'm not panicking. I ain't bailing. I ain't worried.
Look, I'm not bailing.
Bring on Florida. Really, I mean, I kind of like that Florida is next up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, there's no way that ride home that had to be very silent, very, like, just kind of head down. Everybody just, I mean, you better get this thing right by the time we get home.
You know it's bad when Jay's calling timeout with Tommy White up to bat. Like, in the middle of his at-bat.
And I want to give a shout-out to Tanks on his glove.
Yeah, Coach, he's making plays all weekend.
I mean, like, that double play he made where he steps on the bag and just a missile. That thing was never 4 feet off the ground. I mean, Jones almost caught it like a catcher.
Yeah.
Shout out to Tanks, man. He might be SEC Player of the Week. I mean, really. I mean, in a loss. I mean, I don't know if there was a better defense or offensive player in the conference. So at least, you know, your headliner is there, and, you know, he's seeing it and defending at a very high level. So I'm with it. I think LSU they'll be okay.